Okay, we're continuing with Brhad-bhagavatamrta, volume 1, that is part 1, and Narada is speaking with, who is he speaking with?
Shiva?
Yes, he's speaking with Shiva. And is Lord Shiva happy with Narada Muni's praising of him?
Not at all.
Nope. Not at all. And why is he not pleased? Anyone want to say? Yes, Virachand. Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
El señor Shiva no estaba conforme con el dictamen de Narada Muni, puesto que él se considera que siempre está para hacer como el trabajo difícil, en un servicio difícil, como fue tomarse todo el océano de veneno primero. Después Krishna le pidió que fundamentara la filosofía Mayavada a través de Sankaracharya. Entonces el señor Shiva no se siente feliz con esa posición y se lo expresa a la música.
He said that Lord Shiva is not comfortable because he thinks that he always have the difficult work for him. For example,
It has a thankless task, right, of dealing with the mode of ignorance, right?
yes, the Mayavadi philosophy of Sankaracharya. The ocean milk. Sorry, voice. And for that, he don't feel that privileged.
Okay. Any other? Yes, Krishna.
Shiva jest pokorny i nieprzywiązany do rezultatu, do honoru.
Because Lord Shiva is very humble and he's not attached to be given respect. He's not attached to it.
Okay. Yeah, he's humble. Yes. Rachel.
Shiva was saying that I am Ahankara and I'm the source of Ahankara and he is the source of pridelessness. To Krishna.
Krishna is
Yeah, Krishna is the source of pridelessness.
Yes.
I'm Ahankara.
Yeah, I'm the source, I'm the very embodiment of Ahankara, in effect. He was being the source, I'm like the embodiment of Ahankara. And Krishna is the embodiment, the very reservoir of selflessness, right? The opposite. Yeah. Okay, yeah, these are all some of the reasons. Okay, now Lord Shiva wants to direct Narada somewhere else, to someone else. And he starts by saying that the residents of Vaikuntha, they are very dear to the Lord. Aho karunya mahima Shri Krishnasya kuto anyataha Vaikuntha loke yo ajasram tadiyeshu cha rajate. Ah, where else can one see compassion so exalted as that which Sri Krishna showered constantly on the residents of Vaikuntha Loka? So now he's going to praise the residents of Vaikuntha for several verses. It says in Vaikuntha there's nothing but devotional service. So it's all bliss there. There's no comparison to the bliss of Brahman. And everyone there has pure love for the Lord. As recipients of such mercy, the divine residents of Vaikuntha are much greater than I in many ways. How can I adequately describe their glories? Mahima kim nu varyatam. This is still chapter 3 of part 1. But I wanted to specifically go to verse number 58. Here we are. Na anyakim api manchanti tad bhakti rasalampata Svargat pavarganara keshapi tuyarta darshina. Oh, that sounds familiar. Greedy to taste the pleasure of devotion to him. They, the residents of Vaikuntha, have no desire for anything else. To them, liberation, heaven, and hell all appear the same. So where does that what does that resonate with? What does that sound like? Narayana parasarve na kutaschana vidyati svarga pavarga narakeshvapi tuyarta darshanam. And who is speaking that verse? About whom? Isn't it Lord Shiva speaking? Lord Shiva is speaking to Parvati about whom? Chitraketu, yes. And why? Why does he say this about Chitraketu?
He remained smiling after he was cursed.
Yes. He was cursed. What is the curse going to be? What is he going to become as a result of the curse? Yes, Savitri. A demon? Some particular demon? Vritrasura, exactly. And then that leads into the whole story of the confrontation between Indra and Vritra, which is famously referred to several times in the Rig Veda. Okay, but what's interesting to me here is that, first of all, it's Lord Shiva speaking, and he's not talking about Chitraketu. He's talking about residents of Vaikuntha. They're already in Vaikuntha, but he's saying, to them, liberation, heaven, and hell all appear the same. Interesting. Svarga pavarga narakeshvapi tuyarta darshina. Well, so that's a qualification not just of Chitraketu, but of the residents of Vaikuntha. Even they're in Vaikuntha, they wouldn't mind if they were sent to hell. That's it. Seems to be what it's saying. Yeah, he goes on praising the residents of Vaikuntha. Truly, I tell you, such devotees are as limitlessly dear to me, Lord Shiva, as the Supreme Lord himself. My highest ambition is to have their company. Mamritai Sada Sangama Parama Prartaniya. We're getting construction noise. Alas. He says, verse 60, Narada aham yidam manye tadrishanam yatat stiti bhavet sa eva vaikunto loko na atra vicharana. In my opinion, dear Narada, anywhere such devotees are found is actually Vaikuntha Loka. Arguing against this fact would be useless. Loko, Vaikuntha Loka, na atra vicharana. Don't even think about it, it's just a fact. Where these such devotees are. So like this, he's praising them. But at some point, this goes to sleep. And then, starting with verse 62. That's not right. Well, where is it? Here it is. Okay, starting from 64. Shri Parvati Uvacha. So then Parvati speaks up. So Lord Shiva is with Parvati. That's not surprising, but we didn't hear from her yet. Narada has only been speaking with Lord Shiva now, and Lord Shiva's been praising the Vaikuntha Vasis, and now Parvati says, Tatrapi Shrir Visheshena Prasiddha Shri Hari Priya Tadrik Vaikuntha Vasinam Ishvari Hi Ya. She says, furthermore, among them all, that is, residents of Vaikuntha, the goddess Shri is famous as especially dear to the Lord. She is indeed the ruling goddess of Vaikuntha and its residents. So this is Parvati speaking, and of course, she's thinking about, you're saying all kinds of things nice about devotees, but don't forget, some of these devotees are female, and there's one in particular, and that is none other than the goddess Shri. Incidentally, it's not mentioned here, but the name Lakshmi does not appear in the early Vedic literature. It's not in the Rig Veda, for example. It comes later. But Shri is is the term of preference. Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu says in his commentary, when Parvati heard her husband praise Vaikuntha without mentioning the queen of Vaikuntha, Parvati became somewhat disturbed. She therefore took the liberty to speak out. So now she's going to elaborate on Shri's glories. Her mercy expands wherever she casts her sight-long glance. Thus the rulers of the various planets obtain their powers, their knowledge, their detachment, and their devotion. So it's Goddess Shri who is empowering all these various divinities, gods, the devas. What's that? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Do you want to hear a quote from the Vishnu Purana?
Yes.
Yata sattvam tato lakshmi sattvam bhuti anusarija ni sri kanam kuta sattvam vina tena guna kuta. Where there is patience, opulence arises. Where there is patience, opulence arises. And patience also follows opulence. What's being translated as patience here? Nishrikanam. Okay. But how can those not favored by the goddess Shri have patience? And without patience, how can they have good qualities? So that's interesting because, I don't know, we usually think of Lakshmi as Chanchala. She is unsteady, she is here today, gone tomorrow. Wealth comes, wealth goes. And here, the implication is that well-being in general, which manifests as various kinds of opulence, comes from patience, and patience is originating in Shri, Lakshmi. That's interesting. Because I would think, whereas Lakshmi, she is always massaging Lord Vishnu's, Lord Narayan's feet. Yeah, she's also, no, but she wasn't patient then. When was it Brigu who came and did the kicking program? Yeah, the chest kicking program. She was not patient. Was she? Because what did she do? Huh?
She pointed the finger.
Also in the case of Jaya Vijaya, she was on the beach.
Yeah, Jaya Vijaya also. But here it says she is the source of patience. Okay.
Maybe she was defending prohibition. Maybe she was in protecting the prohibition.
Yeah, no, that's certainly the case. Oh, okay, now what's going to happen, they're praising Lord Shiva and then Parvati are praising the residents of Vaikuntha, more specifically the goddess Shri, and Narada gets all excited and he wants to now go and meet the residents of Vaikuntha. And of course, for him, that's not a problem. He has an open ticket to anywhere in the universe and beyond. Imagine that. All right. Shri Parikshit Vacha. Shri Parikshit Uvacha. So now he's giving a little interlude. He says, then the sage, Narada, his mind vibrating with extreme delight, tata parama arshina, kshobita, atma alapan muni, called out, Jai! Jaya Shri Kamala Kanta, He Vaikuntha Pade Hare. Glories to you, O husband of the goddess Kamala. O Hari, Lord of Vaikuntha. Jaya Vaikuntha Loketi Tatratya Jayateti Cha. Jaya Krishna Priye Padme Vaikuntha Dishvarityapi. Glories to you, O Vaikuntha world. Glories to all who live there. And glories to you, O Padma, who is Shri, Lord Krishna's beloved, O presiding goddess of Vaikuntha. So he's all excited. Yes, let's go to Vaikuntha. So he gets up, he stands up, and then Lord Shiva sees, oh, Narada, calm down. Lord Shiva takes him by the hand to stop him from going to Vaikuntha. So Narada can go anywhere he wants, except when Lord Shiva grabs him by the hand and says, don't go. And then Lord Shiva speaks again. He says, Krishna Priya Jana Lokat Sukata Vihata Smriti Naking Smarasi Yad Mumau Dvarakayam Vasatyasam. My dear Narada, because of your eagerness to see the dearest devotees of Krishna, you have lost your memory. Krishna Priya Jana Aloka. Anyway. Don't you remember that the Lord of Vaikuntha is living right now on earth in Dwaraka? And Gopi Pranadana Prabhu explains, Narada is not to be blamed for being distracted by the glories of the Lord of Vaikuntha and his consort, because Narayana and Mahalakshmi are indeed the all-attractive supreme couple. But Narada could now see the same Narayana and Mahalakshmi without having to travel so far. You don't have to go so far, you can see them right here in Dwaraka. Okay. Goes on to describe Queen Rukmini. So yes, you can go to Dwarka. It's a bit like comparison, but we visited Manasi Ganga 2 or 3 days ago. 3 days. And Manasi Ganga is understood to be Ganga. If Manasi Ganga would not be there, and one wanted to go to the Ganga, one would have to take a journey, a rather long journey. And so Ganga comes here. That's Krishna's arrangement. So, like that, Krishna makes arrangements for the convenience of the devotees. He appears in this world. And then Lord Shiva says, so, sit down. Sit down, my dear Brahmana, and I shall whisper in your ear a great secret. Rahasyam paramam shanai. Please hear this with absolute confidence. He shouldn't go to Vaikuntha. He shouldn't also go to Dwarka. First, he should listen to what Lord Shiva has to say. But it's a secret. It should not be heard by anyone, not even by his personal associates. This is in the commentary. So he wants to whisper into Narada's ear, and thus avoid the possibility of displeasing Parvati, who is a close friend of Mahalakshmi. So Lord Shiva has to be sometimes diplomatic with his wife. Okay, here we go. Tvata tato mat karudaditascha shriyo vikarunya visheshapatram prahlada eva pratito jagatyam krishnasya bhakto nitaram priyascha. There is a greater recipient of Krishna's mercy than your father, me, and other servants like Garuda, and even then the goddess of fortune. His name is Prahlad. He is famous throughout the world as the dearmost devotee of Krishna. Well, if he's famous, here's my skeptical side. Well, if he's famous all over the 3 worlds, or all over the world as the dearmost devotee of Krishna, then why he has to whisper? It's not a secret. Everybody knows.
Maybe just because Parvati was present. Maybe just because Parvati was present.
Because Parvati is present, yeah. And he says to Narada, you must have heard about this from the Puranas. Aritani Purani Shu Slokane Tamna Kim Smare. And you must remember the following verse. Naham Atmanam Ashase Matbhaktai Sadhu Birvina Shriyam Atyantikim Bhavi Yesham Gatir Aham Para Without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss or my supreme opulences. That's from 9th Canto, chapter 4, where there's a lot of glorification of Krishna's devotees in that chapter. Right, let's see. Yeah, so like this, he's going to praise Prahlad. And, then verse 86. 86, here we go. Aho na sahate asmakam pranamam sajjanagrani stuting cha ma pramani syas tatra chet sukham ichasi. Unfortunately, this is Lord Shiva advising Narada, unfortunately, that best of saintly persons, Prahlad, will not tolerate our bowing down to him or praising him. If you want to avoid getting into trouble, do not neglect this fact. So he's warning Narada, be careful, you're going to go, I know, it's like you came to me and you're praising me, and I also didn't like it, but with Prahlad, be careful, because he's really not going to like it if you're going on about his glories. So that then is the end of chapter 3, and skipping some verses in chapter 4, which is he meets Prahlad and he praises him. So many nice praises. Oh, this is interesting. Verse 11. Yak pitava songri sarojadrishyari gachanvanam naimishakam kadachit narayanena bhavatoshitena prokastvaya hanta sadachitosmi. You, this is now Narada speaking to Prahlad, you once went to the Naimisha forest to have darshan of Narayana. I don't think this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Yeah, it's in the Brahmana. Narayana, who is known as the Lord in yellow dress. While on the road, you satisfied the Lord in combat. And he told you, quote, yes, I am always conquered by you. So there's an episode, we get a common explanation in the commentary. Do you want to hear what happened? This incident is recounted in a number of scriptures, including the Vamana Purana. Once, Prahlad took a trip to Naimisharanya to see Lord Pitavasa, the beautiful form of the Supreme Lord. While traveling on the road, he met a strange person who was dressed like an austere renunciant, but was carrying a warrior's bow and arrows. Actually, there's some modern history of ascetic warriors, very fierce ascetic warriors. 18th, 19th century, there's whole histories about this. Sometimes they were fighting each other. There were wars between Vaishnavas and Shaivites, mainly over territory where they can collect donations from people, where they can get support, like pilgrimage routes. But also the British would engage these warrior sadhus sometimes to help them to fight against one or another. I think in the Punjab, somewhere they were fighting. Okay, so here Prahlad meets some sort of ascetic warrior on the road to Naimisharanya. Prahlad assumed from this person's contradictory attire that he must be some hypocrite, abusing the true principles of religion. Therefore, Prahlad started a fight with the sannyasi, vowing, quote, "I swear I shall defeat you." But even after several days of dueling, Prahlad could not subdue this adversary. Of course, we should remember, we always think of Prahlad as this cute little 5-year-old boy, right? But after some time he grew up, and he was a Kshatriya, and he was So, early one morning, before resuming the battle, Prahlad worshipped his personal deity. He then saw his opponent standing nearby, wearing the same garland he had just offered the deity. It's like, in some comedies you see somebody do something and then they do what we call a double take. It's like, what? Yeah, he's offering a garland, and over here is the Lord, and now he's wearing that garland. Prahlad suddenly recognized that the stranger was Lord Pitavasa, Narayana himself. Thereupon, offering prayers to that opponent, with all the confidence at his command, Prahlad tried to satisfy him. In response, the Lord touched him with his lotus hand, which relieved Prahlad from the fatigue of fighting and from all anxiety. Prahlad asked Lord Pitavasa what to do about having transgressed the duty of a Kshatriya by having made a promise, namely to defeat his opponent, and not having fulfilled it. So Prahlad had made a vow, I'm going to defeat my opponent, but his opponent turned out to be God himself. The Lord, fully satisfied by the sport of fighting with Prahlad, told him, quote, "But I am always defeated by you." Prahlad Maharaj ki. One doesn't usually think, as I said, we think small child, nursing a day, blessing him, little simple Prahlad. This is another side of Prahlad. Okay. Now it's Prahlad's turn to speak. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Bhagavan Shri Guru Sarvam Swayameva Vicharyatam Balyena Sambhavit Krishna Bhaktir bhaktir jnanam api sputam. Sri Prahlad said, my Lord and spiritual master. Why does he say that? He's speaking to Narada.
His mother's, it's his mother's.
The teacher. Teacher.
Hmm?
Because he was.
Say,
Wasn't Prahlad in the womb of his mother and then Prahlad was there? No, sorry, I confused.
It's just like that.
Mike is right there.
So wasn't Prahlad?
Hare Krishna.
Wasn't Prahlad in the womb of his mother and then Narada was there? So therefore it's the spiritual master.
Narada was there. What did Narada do while Prahlad was in his womb?
He was talking to the mother. He was instructing the mother.
He was instructing his mother, yes.
Whose name I don't remember, the mother's name.
What was Prahlad's mother's name? Kayadu. Okay, so yeah, something more.
It must be that this is something I see maybe because of my wrong vision. Something is not clear here. Because this whole episode, it was on heavenly planets, not on the planet Earth. And now this pastime, now he's going to name Sharanya. How is he somebody on the Earth? You know, he even maybe we can see in Srila Prabhupada's conversations that devotees emphasize some whole alignment temples on the Singadev, and he said that all happened, like on the heavenly planets. And I'm a little confused. Is that some other kalpa, or this with Pitamaha and so on?
I think the first point we could make is that Prahlad can move around. He may have been with his father Hiranyakashipu at one time in Indraloka, but this is years later. This is so many years later being described. And
this is a Citroen EC4X.
And that was interesting. And I asked this to Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj. When I was on my way to Ahobilam, I met him in his mutt in Rajmundri, and I asked him how to understand this. We're going to Ahobilam, it's supposed to be where Singadev appeared. On the other hand, we understand it's all happening in Indraloka. His answer was, when the Devas and the Asuras fight, they come down to earth, and they fight here. That was his comment. But that's all I can say. Yeah. Sri Prahlad said, my Lord and spiritual master, please reconsider everything you've said. He's just praised him, and now Prahlad is saying, Please reconsider. A young boy simply cannot understand correctly the science of devotion service to Krishna. He's saying, I was a 5-year-old kid then. What do you think I actually understood? Still, when one receives instruction from great souls, because he's talking to his guru, Narada is his guru, he's not wanting to discredit Narada. Evam chanam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe kama vikama manuya sangha kritvat masat surashina bhagavan rihitva soham katam nuvisuje tavavritya sevam. How can I forget he who has saved me? Is one of his prayers to Nrsingadev. He's remembering Narada Muni, who as his guru, who liberated him. So he says, still, when one receives instructions from great souls, those instructions have the power to awaken one's higher understanding. And then one can engage in devotional service to Lord Hari. Therefore, it is not a sign of greatness that ordinary persons like me can persevere despite terrible disturbances, give spiritual enlightenment to children, behave like saintly persons, show compassion to suffering souls, or refuse the boon of liberation. So he's recognizing all the things he's being praised for, and he's saying, because the guru can inspire one to do all these things. Even I didn't really have much understanding what I was doing, but I got some mercy. Okay, I did all. Yes, I was able to preach to these children. I could even behave like a saintly person. I could make it look like I'm saintly. He's really minimizing himself. And at the same time, he's praising Narada. Merely from these symptoms, the best of saints do not conclude that Krishna has given a person his mercy. Krishna's mercy, blessed Narada, appears only in a truly worthy servant. Adikritya eva sevakam. He doesn't consider himself really. Oh, here we go. Now he's going to start praising Hanuman. I, Prahlad, have never performed any real service for the Lord, like Hanuman and others. I have only remembered the Lord sometimes when my mind was troubled. I was in a troubled state, so okay, I could remember the Lord, great. But have I ever done any service? No. Just look at Hanuman. Hanuman did so much service. Let's look at this commentary and then we can end. Quote, but you are a devotee of Lord Vishnu, Narada might say. And so you do deserve his mercy. Prahlad replies by contrasting himself with others, like Hanuman, who serve the Lord actively. Even now, Prahlad says, I am only practicing meditation. I have not yet become proficient even as a passive meditator. Saying I'm practicing meditation. Narada might argue in return that fixing one's mind on the Lord is one of the 9 methods of pure devotion service. Remembering the Lord's names, forms, and pastimes is on the highest level of self-realization in Bhakti Yoga. Because seva means devotional service, Prahlad should not use this word to deny that he has ever served the Lord. You get his point? What you're doing by meditation, that's seva. It's one of the 9 processes, and it's not mentioned here, but who is it in the Bhagavatam who lists these 9 practices of devotional service? Huh? No. Prahlad. Yeah. When does he list them? What is he speaking? What's the context?
He's telling his classmates that they should have a devotional service.
Saying that?
He's telling them his classmates.
No. Mm-mm. No, he's advising his father. His father asks him, what have you learned in school? What's the best thing you learned in school today, my dear little boy? Shravanam kirtanam vishnu smaranam padasevanam archanam bhagdanam tasyam saranam iti pung sarpita something. And he says this is the best education, best of education. So now Narada's using this, so to speak, against Prahlad to say, you're saying you haven't served the Lord? Well, you yourself say that this is one form of service. Prahlad answers this, we're still reading the commentary. Prahlad answers this by characterizing himself as disturbed by material anxieties, a condition that automatically disqualifies him from nama smarana, rupa smarana, and lila smarana. A further argument is also implicit here that remembrance is not the best form of devotional service, since it depends on the functions of the mind, which are subject to distraction by anxiety and other emotions. This argument will be elaborated more fully later on in quote, the glories of Goloka. That's another chapter. Interesting. So let's go back to the verse that he's explaining. He says, I've never performed any real service for the Lord like Hanuman and others. I have only remembered the Lord sometimes when my mind was troubled. So he's saying this is lower kind of devotional service because it's on the mental platform, we could say. It's remembrance, okay, but what is doing remembrance? It's the mind. And the mind is subject to distraction. We've been talking about that with regard to chanting and inattention. What was the technical word for distraction? No, that's for inattention. Vikshepa, yes. I was listening to a lecture Prabhupada's giving, one of his early lectures, I think, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, and he's as he always would do, he's emphasizing very strongly, we are not this body, and we are not the mind. the mind is material. We are not the mind. We are not the body. Yeah. Very strongly making that distinction. Okay. Let's see what to do now. Is it kirtan time? Our kirtaniyas haven't come. We'll see if any come. Any thoughts about any of this? Any reflections? Any doubts? Any... Battery manufacturers.
Maybe I didn't heard well, but when Shiva said to Narada Muni, why should you travel so far? I mean, he's traveling in a moment, to Vaikuntha. Anyway.
Beam me up, Scotty. Sorry.
So, I just wondered, is that what he said? Why should you travel for so long? And he got there in 1 second. Why alone?
I don't know.
You should. It's something like you
Yeah.
so long way to go there.
Yeah, well.
Maybe that was his logic to divert him to the.
Yeah, you could say it's just a way of speaking. Stay here, you don't have to go there. That's all. Yeah. No. Yes.
Say something that I've noticed.
I've noticed something this Brhad-bhagavatamrta when Lord Shiva and Narada, when they speak with each other, even Prahlad, it seems that they're all the time praising each other and glorifying the Lord. It's like every conversation is actually a recognition of the other person's quality, and then they together glorify the Lord.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of this old medieval times when people would also, when they would meet with each other, they wouldn't just say hello or come in, let's have a cup of coffee or something. They would actually praise each other, which is now in this time sort of lost. So is that actually life in Vaikuntha, that the devotees are serving the Lord by prayers, by praising, by remembering Him constantly?
There's lots of praise. That's something Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions in his Madhurya Kadambini. I don't remember yet with regard to which level. He's elaborating on Rupa Goswami's list of progression, his map, Ado Shraddha Tata Sada Sankirtana, Shraddha to Prema. And somewhere in there he describes the behavior of devotees when they meet each other, that it becomes a kind of competition. Each wants the other to speak about Krishna, to glorify Krishna. In other words, they always want to hear from another devotee. Maybe it's within Bhajana Kriya. They always want to hear from another devotee. So it's always like, oh, Prabhu, can you say something, glorify Krishna? And the other devotee says, no, I don't know anything. You should speak. And he says, no, what do I know? You're the one. And it goes like that. Yeah, praising. Yeah, that's the Vaikuntha atmosphere, you can say, where devotees are always finding reasons, opportunities to praise others. Manadena, Trinada Visanichena, Tarori Vasahishana, Manina, Manadena, Manada. Mana means respect, da means giving, so giving respect. By giving respect, Manadena. So that's, and then what does that facilitate? Kirtaniya, Hari Kirtana. Literally, Hari is glorifiable or is praisable. Kirtaniya, always by these attitudes. Yeah. Therefore, anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chaya swadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchate. On the material level, devotees are pursuing austerity in the mode of goodness, sattvika tapasya, austerity of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of speech. And anudvega karam vakyam, we strive to speak in ways which are not disturbing, satyam, and at the same time they're true, making true statements. Priya hitam, which are beneficial. And then swadhyaya, self-culturing. Well, it can also mean recitation, reciting the Veda. Yeah. So you can say that's a complement to this idea, Trinada Visanichena Tarori Vatsishana. So specifically of the voice, what do we do with our voices? How do we use our language? If only the politicians could take these things seriously. They wouldn't be politicians anymore. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Brhad-bhagavatamrta ki jai. Srila Sanatana Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I spoke with Govardhan Prabhu. He's now here. And it's very nice that he's here. And I asked him if we could have the his kindness that he would speak to us one of these days. And he said, yes, but let's work out exactly when. One definite plan, almost definite, but a lot of you are going to Vrindavan that day. On the 17th, Burijan Prabhu is going to speak to Mahatma Prabhu's group. The title of his lecture is Srila Prabhupada off the Vyasasana. He's going to tell some stories about Prabhupada's exchanges with devotees when he's not on the Vyasasana. Because Mahatma Prabhu is having a seminar. He told 3 topics, one of which is developing a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. He wants to encourage all devotees to feel a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So in that context, Burijan, that'll be in the evening. Well, maybe devotees will be back from Vrindavan by then. I don't know. I think he will be evening, so after 7, I guess. I don't know. So stay tuned. Look forward to that. Let's see. Oh, it's 6:30. It's dinner time, right? Okay. Hare Krishna.